Now, not taking anything away from your collegiate athletic career, but I do want to talk about, more about what you've built there in the past few decades. All of the things that you've been through from an athlete standpoint at University of Hawaii, I think that gives you a unique perspective as to how to approach this program and how to build and move forward with this program, because you have that perspective from going through the exact same program. So all of that is super beneficial, and we've seen what has happened after that. So let's talk about, how did you actually get into strength and conditioning? I Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you went back to Kahuku and you coached a little while, football, baseball. And then after that, you came back and you were a member of the staff in the strength and conditioning program here at University of Hawaii. So explain that a little bit. What was that transition like? What made you decide, I want to pursue being a strength and conditioning coach?
Yeah, so when I was playing sports in the summers, I always stayed and trained on campus. And I would volunteer with Kaleane, and help clean the weight room with Glenn. Glenn Nakaya was also assistant. He runs the baseball stadium now. So I would train and then I would volunteer and help those guys. And I would clean the weight room, rack weights during the summer. So I did that every summer while I was here, and I would train at the same time. So when I wasn't playing, I was always around the guys, and it was always good to be around those guys. Yeah. So when I got done, when I graduated and I got a chance to go into teaching, I guess I had a good relationship with those guys. And then I actually got into Kahuku and I finally got a full-time job. I finally made it all right, I'm in my hometown, I'm full-time, I'm teaching at my high school, and I'm getting to coach. I'm good, I'm set. And then I think a year into it or 6-7 months into it, I get a call from Curtis Suruda. So he actually took over for Glenn Nakaya. And he asked me, hey, Tom, would you interested in coming back to UH and being a strength coach and blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh, wow. I really love athletics. I love athletics. Teaching was great, but I had a hard time being in a room for 8 hours. I could not see myself staying in a room for that long. So I was always eager to get outside and do different things. But he mentioned that opportunity was there at the University of Hawaii. But he said it's only a part-time position. So I could only get paid 20 hours a week and making, I don't know, blah, blah, whatever. Nothing compared to what I was making at Kahuku already as a full-time teacher. So I thought he could give me some time to think about it. So I was torn because two things that I love, and I had to choose one. And then I talked to my dad, and he said, boy, you do whatever makes you happy. Whatever makes you happy, you go do it. And I said, wow, I love to be in athletic training more than I love being in a classroom, athletic environment. So I made that leap of faith. And it was tough because I was only getting paid $300 every 2 weeks. And I was working from 6 to 7 at night, 5 days a week, walking to work from Dade Street.
Okay.
And so we gave up a lot. And that's how I got back into the collegiate setting. I gave up my full-time teaching job to come back and take a chance.
Yeah.
Take a chance at being a strength coach. And at that time, it was just me and Curtis for 18 sports. Wow. Out of the same weight room. Yeah. In that one. So, it was. I never thought about the hours or the pay because I loved it. All those times, it really didn't matter to me because I enjoyed training the kids. And Curtis would do the big sports like football, basketball, and I would take care of all the teams that never had a strength coach before. So I would do the women's basketball, women's soccer, women's volleyball. All the teams that kind of was pushed it aside. I jumped on those, and that's how I got my start working with all the smaller teams. And working with those coaches and those programs and just getting experience. I gave up one dream to pursue another one. And it was tough. And I did that for 5 years. Yes. Barely scraping by, making I just made enough to pay my rent for per month. Lucky my wife was a waitress, so she kind of lived off of her the rest of the things. But yeah, I did that for 5 years as a part-time assistant.
That's great for sharing. I mean, thanks for sharing that, because for most people, right, it's at some point in your career, you're going to come to this crossroads and you're going to have to choose, right, between what you want to pursue more, or what you're passionate about. And, a lot of the other guests on this podcast, they share similar stories. I'm probably in my point right now where I just recently had to, choose which one am I going to do. But it's good to hear that following your passion, I think, even if you have to sacrifice a lot and it's hard in the beginning and things like that, if you're passionate, you're going to keep going, right? And when you keep going, that's when you're going to grow the most probably, and more opportunities, more doors are going to open, which has definitely happened for you. Before we go on to, becoming a full-time staff member, so at Kahuku, what were you teaching?
Actually, I got my degree in Hawaiian history, Hawaiian language.
Yes.
At the University there's a School of Hawaiian Asian Pacific Studies. They called it SHAPS back then. Mm-hmm. And I was the first class of the Hawaiian Studies program. There's two of us. So they go, School of Hawaiian Asian Pacific Studies, stand. There's two of us, there's two. So it was awesome as well, because I got to learn a lot of my Hawaiian history in college, yes. Things that I never had the opportunity to learn. Gave me identity, let me know who I was. Mm-hmm. Which also helped me let me know where I got to go now. Mm-hmm. So I truly believe that, and I encourage all our athletes, go find out more about you and your history mm-hmm. and your family, because once you find those things out, it's going to make a lot of things clearer mm-hmm. for you. You're going to understand why, the way you are, who you are, mm-hmm. and then it also gives you direction yes. on what you should do in the future, and it's going to guide you. So being in the Hawaiian Studies program was a huge positive for me.
Yes.
And I was teaching Hawaiian Pacific Studies at Kahuku.
Got it. Yeah, and all of these things, it kind of comes together whenever you pursue your passion too, because I'm sure, like you said, learning about yourself, learning about the history and all of that, I'm sure that helps you not only with your profession, but helps you at the University of Hawaii, helps you to incorporate some of these things with the local players, relate to them, right? And even pass on words of wisdom to them as well.